Well, then let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, hello and welcome to another episode of the CGIS Brief, where we discuss a wide range of topics you never knew you needed to consider when it comes to studying abroad. Today we're going to be talking about student athletes abroad and everything they need to consider when attempting to fit study abroad into their schedules. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to do a quick plug on our briefs. We do record these sessions, so you can find all of our briefs that we've done either on our YouTube or the CGIS website. The CGIS website actually has a list of our upcoming briefs for the semester, as well as little descriptions on each of them. And you can also RSVP for those ahead of time, and you'll definitely receive reminder emails for those briefs as we approach them. So my name is Stephen Gonzalez. I'm the communication specialist for the Center for Global and Intercultural Study, and my pronouns are he, him, his. I am your moderator today, so if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself at any point during the presentation, or you can use the chat box and I'll make sure to ask your questions on your behalf. I'm joined today by my amazing co-hosts, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ashton Traxel, and I am an Intercultural Programs Advisor at CGIS, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
And I am Callie Rouse. I am the Health and Safety Assistant at CGIS, and my pronouns are also she, her, hers.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. And also, as a reminder, you will be receiving this presentation in an email. So if you see any links, any resources that we're going to be talking about, you'll have access to them by the end of the day. We're also really excited today because we are joined by a special guest, one of our CGIS colleagues who serves, I suppose, as a student athletes liaison, I guess you can say. Welcome, special guest. Who are you? And please tell us a little bit about your role at CGIS and how student athletes fits into that.
Hello. Yes, I am Nyanatee Bailey, and it's silent. I am, as Stephen said, a colleague at CGIS. I am an Intercultural Programs Advisor. I work with a very interesting portfolio. So I have the English-speaking locations that are not in the United Kingdom. So that would be South Africa, Northern Ireland, and Australia. I also have a few programs that are English-friendly, but not necessarily in English locations. So those are in Spain and in France. And then I also co-advise for our service learning programs, which are titled GIU. And those are pretty much everywhere: Vietnam, Japan, Peru, Mexico, South Africa, Tanzania, Palestine, Israel, to name a few. And so I am actually the official CGIS athletics liaison. So I just kind of got that title. Before it was Rachel, another colleague at CGIS. And then I would assist her just because I am passionate about helping student athletes. And that actually comes from while I wasn't a collegiate athlete, I played in high school, and I did not play in college because the offers to the schools that they didn't match the schools that I wanted to go to. But I did have a couple of friends that came to Michigan that played football, well, a couple other sports, but specifically football, that once I got this position and I talked to them about studying abroad, and they told me about how that was awesome and that how they wish they had the opportunity when they played at Michigan, and that it would be cool if I could find a way for other athletes to go abroad. And so since then, that's been kind of sort of a small passion of mine, working here at CGIS to help make study abroad more accessible for athletes.
Awesome. That sounds really awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you here, Nyanatee, and we're really eager to hear more. So let's dive in.
Yeah, so I think, we talk a lot about the benefits of study abroad in general, helps you grow personally, can attain some of your academic goals while you're abroad, get credit towards your major. You can also, maybe do an internship or volunteer abroad, and all of that's really great. But we wanted to point out some, key factors as it pertains to student athletes. And one really great thing about going abroad as a student athlete is that you get to, meet people and form bonds with other students outside of the athletic department. And I know you all feel like a family, but it's really great to expand your network and maybe meet other students who are in your same major or, maybe are interested in art history like you. So that's a really unique way to, expand your connections. And as I mentioned earlier, you get to build, your career goals, your resume booster. So a lot of our students who go abroad get these really unique opportunities, whether it's an internship or just some other type of experiential learning. We have a quote from one of our students, a football player, and he said, "A football player is not going to get a job over someone who worked and had internships. My resume right now is football." And I know that that can be really daunting once you graduate and you're ready to look for jobs, because sports can be very time consuming all year around. And I know Nyanatee is going to talk about that, overcoming that barrier to be able to add study abroad and internships to your resume through some of these experiences that you can get through CGIS. You can also get quite a few credits on short-term programs. For example, you could earn 6 credits in as little as 5 weeks. So that really fits into student schedule sometimes better than going abroad for a whole semester. And then luckily, a lot of our student athletes get their program fees covered through the athletic department, through special scholarships, which really helps get more students abroad. And then last but not least, we have a lot of programs that explore topics, even sports, in a different lens. So it can broaden your horizon. You can get different ideas of practicing and improving your body, your mobility through an international lens. So I'm going to pass it on to Nyanatee to talk about the barriers of studying abroad and how to overcome those.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. I'm going to kind of walk us through some of the barriers, but also come up with some solutions. And these are kind of built from just my experience working with student athletes in the past few years to help, make sure that they were able to go abroad. So I know one major issue is the schedule. So as a student athlete, your schedule is not just probably, definitely very packed full of things that you have to do. So a lot of times when people think of a student athlete schedule, they think of the season and they think of the games and they think of practices and how daunting that is. But there's also other levels to it, as I'm sure you're aware. So you have a preseason a lot of times where you may have scrimmages or you may have some matches, and that has to be factored in because that's an important time, both mentally and physically, for getting ready for your season. Then, of course, there's the in-season demands. Then there's strength and conditioning, and that's a hidden time that a lot of people think athletes have off, but it's not necessarily the case. There's mandatory strength and conditioning, which is very time intensive, very physical a lot sometimes. And then there's also voluntary strength and conditioning, with voluntary being very a quotation, because a lot of times those voluntary sessions are not so voluntary, especially if you want to be competitive, if you want to keep your spot, your starting spot, or make sure you get playing time depending on the sport. So because of that, there's a lot of difficulty even fitting a program in or even having time to meet with an advisor to talk about it. So we have some solutions. And one of those big solutions is our short-term program. So what at CGIS, what we kind of have intentionally done, at least for the last few years, is develop programs that fit for a shorter time window. And a lot of times those windows do somewhat overlap and provide a window for student athletes to go. So right now we've actually kind of reformatted some of our original kind of program type called Mazeaways. And so right now the majority of our shorter term programs are session-based programs. So they're programs where you don't have to go for a full semester, but you can maybe go for 4 weeks or maybe 6 weeks or something like that. And so we're actually working to add even more programs that are fitting into that 3 or 4 week window that allow student athletes to go. So in my working with some athletes, we found some great windows for baseball players, July or August, which is right after the College World Series, presuming that we make it that far. Also May, June, or July, right after the March Madness and the NCAA tournament. For football, May through June is usually a good time because it's right before fall practice and then it's right after the spring game. And then for tennis, June through August is usually fine because it's right after individual and nationals. So these are just a few examples, and we've had students who have been athletes in these sports fit into these windows. Conversely, there are some sports where it's actually easier for them to go for a semester than over the spring, summer. And so we're definitely open to having programming that fits any sport. So if there's like if you play a sport or anything like that and you don't see a program that fits that window, we definitely invite you to come and talk with us so we can, develop some programming that will allow you to have that kind of access. So another major barrier is our training needs. So some sports are really equipment intensive, both in practicing it, but also for preparing to play it. And so a big question is, how can I prepare for my sport? How can I train for it? How can I practice? How can I stay in shape when I'm abroad, when I'm away from U of M and our facilities here, when I'm away from our coaching and stuff like that? And so the solution for that seems kind of basic and simple, but it is very effective talking with your CGIS advisors. So if you talk with us, we're able to actually find a program that will fit your specific needs. So we have different kinds of program types, but in any type of model, we should be able to find a solution to help you. So if you want to go to a university-based program, or you feel like that might be a good fit, we may be able to arrange it so that you can use the athletics facilities at that school. And even in some cases, students have actually been able to practice with that university's team. And that way they're able to keep their skills sharp and actually get a pretty unique experience being able to, play their sport from a different context and with, people they may have not normally gotten the chance to do that with. Another tool that we have is when we work with providers, sometimes they can provide access to gyms and other athletic facilities. So one example of that is the Gym Pass, which is a pass that allows students, I think it's based in Europe, but it allows you unlimited access to gyms and other athletic facilities 24/7. And so when we've worked with providers in the past, if it's been something that only a couple students need, they have in the past been willing to sort of just kind of throw that in. But even if we had a large amount of students, they've been able to work that into the overall contract so that we've been able to offer that to all the students. So it's, definitely something, just let us know and, we can maybe work out a way for that to be included in the program. And then finally, technology. So there's the different apps now that allow students to, find different ways to satisfy the needs of their sport, no matter where they are. So Sharify and Full Court are two examples, but there's many examples. And with the Full Court example, I'll just highlight that one because when I previously worked with a student, he was a basketball player that went to Barcelona. One of his major concerns was that he had a mandate to get up 1,000 shots per day. And so he wasn't really sure if he was going to be able to do that. And so the provider actually found this app. It was actually brand new at the time, but it's been around for a few years now. And it allowed him to actually find any basketball court, indoor or outdoor, anywhere in the city of Barcelona. And so he was able to, pretty much no matter if he was doing an excursion or if he was at home or in between classes, he was able to find a court somewhere close where he could get shots up. And so he was able to, play well. And, we ended up going to the championship game a few years later. So I think that it helped a little bit, him staying sharp like that. And so the third barrier that we'll talk about is dietary needs. So for a lot of sports, there are definitely requirements for students to eat certain types of food in order to maintain their weight or their strength requirements. And so being abroad, you may be now in a new ecosystem where, okay, when I'm back home in Ann Arbor, I know where all my grocery stores are, where all of the different markets, the different types of foods that I need. Whereas now in an abroad context, how do I figure out, if I can get access to that or where to go for that? So that can be kind of daunting for a lot of student athletes who are thinking about going abroad. And so the solution, again, it sounds kind of basic, but again, very, very important, is just taking the time to understand the housing and daily life. So you can do that in a couple of different ways. One is just sort of doing kind of research on your own, researching maybe once you get the information about where the program is, maybe researching the neighborhood you might be staying in, or about the program itself, or about where the centers are. Or you can also talk to us. Again, as CGIS, we have lots of information about these things. And usually we've had students who have had these same kind of questions or concerns before, so we can answer it about that program. You can also do the housing questionnaire. So Once you're accepted for a program, most programs will have you do some type of form for your housing. So if it's for a homestay, it allows you to let the homestay family you'll be staying with know what your dietary needs are, and how much food that you might need, or anything like that. And oftentimes it'll often ask if students want to go with the homestay family to the grocery store or to the market. So you can sort of put that in, and they can make sure to match you with a homestay family that really wants to provide that. Another option is when you stay in a student apartment, the provider can also provide like kitchen facility layouts, so you can know what kind of utensils you have at your at your use, or any other types of things, so you can kind of prepare for going abroad and know what you can do. Also, providers will give orientations to students on how to shop at the local grocery store, where the markets are, how to negotiate, or maybe like conversational if it's a different language. So there's definitely different resources to make sure that students can fulfill their dietary needs. Another quick anecdotal story, again in Barcelona, but I had a couple of students that were football players actually, and they were going abroad and they stayed with a host family, and they had a concern about a week into the program because they were used to eating a little bit more food than they had been eating so far, and they needed to because they were offensive linemen, so they needed to maintain their weight. And so I was able to talk to Barcelona and to the host family, and they were actually super delighted to cook more. They had been not cooking as much because they didn't know if they should cook that much. Previous students hadn't wanted, but they themselves had a couple of sons who love to eat big feasts, and so they were like so happy to be able to do this. And so they took the students with them to the grocery store, and then everything was fun and great, and the students had amazing meals, and everything was great. So definitely let us know, and we'll let the providers know, and we'll let the homestays know, so that your dietary needs can be met.
Hey, Nyanatee, I have a question for you on this.
Yes, ma'am.
So with like the students that you've worked in the past, have you found that like one option is better than the other when it comes to like homestays or or doing groceries yourself, or even doing like a meal plan with the university? Has like one option kind of tended to be better, or is it just kind of depend on those unique situations?
Yeah, I think it really just depends on the student and the situation, because I think anyone can work. So I know for some students, they really want to have like home cooked meals not prepared by them, and so it worked out better because they kind of got that, in addition to some of the other benefits of a homestay. Having somebody to show you around and things like that. But then some students prefer having that autonomy, like they wanted to know exactly what they were putting into everybody.
Oh, Nyanatee froze. Come back, Nyanatee. Minor technical difficulties.
Minor technical difficulties.
Thinking about a slide earlier talking about about training needs. I know Ashton shared a story with us one time about how a student was a rower here at the university, and they were actually able to join up with a family that rows together. And they were able to continue to be able doing that when they were like in Paris or something like that. And so definitely there was access there in unique ways. Hey, Nyanatee, are you back?
I'm back. Yes, my internet gave out on me. So what part did
I think you'd mostly wrapped up your point. So if you want to move on to the next thing, go for it.
I'll continue. So this graph here is just sort of a representation of the student athletes that have gone abroad with CGIS. It's a little bit outdated, but I think it just kind of highlights when we've decided to focus on making programs that work better for student athletes. We saw a huge jump in 2016 and 2017. We jumped from 34 athletes, and even before that, it had been a big jump of almost 240%. So we think that we would like to do this again. We would like to see even more student athletes come back, especially as we come back to actually sending any students abroad. And so we want to sort of highlight that going into 2021 or 2022, I should say, and hopefully attract more student athletes to get this experience. And then lastly, we'll go through just a few quotes. I'll just read them really briefly, but they're quotes from different athletes on our programs who have had great experiences and just had comments about it. So one was from Keith Washington. He wrote about how it was a new experience for him, getting to see a different culture, a new thing for him in his life, a chance to go to different countries and learn things and see the world. Next. And then Noah, I remember Noah, he went to Costa Rica. And it was an incredible program for him. He got to see the hydroelectric dam, geothermal plant, wind farm, solar farm. He went to different plantations and banana farms and things of that nature. And actually, update on Noah is he's actually had a fun time afterwards. So he's actually now a lieutenant in the Marines, and he's an FAA pilot. And he co-authored a study on sustainability with flying cars. He wrote that with NASA and Boeing. He co-authored that study. So he's actually, been doing a lot since he left. So great student athlete. And then also Sean, just talking about how interning and studying abroad has opened up a new world to a college athlete from the States. Just having the opportunity to travel, you may never be able to do it again, at least in this way in your life. And, just giving you great experiences that you'll always remember. And then lastly, Spencer, he talked about how this experience can benefit his professional career and allow him to integrate himself into foreign markets and workplaces, and just showing off his skills to different employers. So these are just some really awesome quotes from student athletes, and I hope that any athlete that goes abroad just has a great time, great experience, and we're always here to help and assist. And so now I will yield to Callie.
Awesome. So I'm going to close out with some resources. So this past fall, we actually talked about working out abroad, and so I wanted to highlight this. It goes into kind of a little bit more of the general topics around safety and, staying healthy while working out abroad. And so it's kind of like a kind of sister presentation that is good to watch that covers a couple of different things. There are also some apps that can be really helpful for staying active abroad, such as WikiLoc, which can provide you with a variety of trails, hiking, biking, and other kind of activities all around the world. And also Map My Run and Strava are really great if you are, you're a runner and you need to be able to, find a good place in your area to go. Sometimes when you're in a new location, you're not necessarily sure, okay, where is a safe place for me to run, where a lot of other people are running. And so you can actually see where other people are mapping their routes and go along those routes as well. And as well as Maps.me. The November Project is again another I think like a running group that you can join up with abroad, as well as Airbnb experiences. You can also kind of connect up with other people who are engaging in sports. So you can find somebody else who's a tennis player, something like that. I don't know, and join up with the group. And I think being an athlete and having that sport is really going to give you a really unique way to engage with the local community, even if it's not your exact sport that you're playing. Maybe instead of football, you're actually going to be doing playing some soccer with some locals, but you're able to build that connection and through playing with other people. And I think it's a really wonderful way to have that cultural immersion experience. Yeah.
Next time, we'll be joined by Katie Wiggins-Golick, who is the Global Education Advisor for Ross Global Initiatives at the Stephen M. Ross School of Business. The brief entitled Fat Bodies Go Abroad will be using a fat-positive approach to discuss travel preparations and daily realities of life abroad for plus-size students, including clothing, transportation, navigating fat bias and fat acceptance through new cultural lenses and languages, and accessibility of housing. Katie will not only be sharing her own experiences, but highlighting others' experiences as well. So if if you want to spread the word, or if you want to join us next time, feel free to RSVP for this brief. I'm pasting in the link to RSVP for not only this brief, but our other briefs as well for the rest of the semester. Thank you for being here today. Thank you to Nyanatee for some amazing insight into student athletes going abroad. And of course, thank you to my co-hosts who are amazing, clearly. Have a great weekend, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.